All right, everybody. Hey, it's Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. We got some results in. Apparently, Rochelle has won re-election to the State House of Representatives. Just bear with me because I want to share this. No one's hearing this right now. I need to share this YouTube page. So give me 1 second. Got to shut myself up. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And I have to share it to... I am live on YouTube with posts, with all right, let me just get that there. And let me just get it on Twitter as well. Sharing on Facebook, just want to make sure I'm sharing the right thing, that it actually goes to the right place. And yeah, that works. So that's that. There's me. All right, let me, I got to make a phone call here. Gene Falbo contacted me. Again, my name is Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. It's 8:40 p.m. Tuesday, November 8th. Gene Falbo just called me, a freelance reporter from Rochelle's campaign headquarters on Main Street in Ansonia, saying that Rochelle has won re-election. She represents Ansonia and Derby in the State House, Representative District 104. So again, this is unofficial numbers, but she is declaring victory according to Gene. And she just texted me and sent me a file labeled Kara's victory speech. So let me see if I can play this audio. Hopefully you can hear it.
The first thank you has to go to the voters of Ansonia and Derby for trusting me to work for them with all of my heart and all of my skills for our community, to make our community a better place for everybody. And I can't thank enough all of the people who got involved in this campaign, to talk to our neighbors, to talk to people about the work that we're doing, the work we want to do to help everyone in this community. Thank you to Matt.
Let me see, that's just cut off. Is that the whole thing? That might be all that Gene got.
That's right. That's right. Yes. First, I want to say I love all
Playing this again just to make sure it didn't just cut off because my phone shut.
The first thank
Apologies for that.
Go to the voters of Ansonia and Derby.
If you're just joining in, I'm Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. I got a text message at about 8:40 p.m. from freelance reporter Gene Falbo-Sosnovich in Ansonia at Rochelle's headquarters, where she's declaring victory. This is the snippet of her victory speech.
For trusting me to work for them with all of my heart and all of my skills for our community, to make our community a better place for everybody. And I can't thank enough all of the people who got involved in this campaign, to talk to our neighbors, to talk to people about the work that we're doing, the work we want to do to help.
I apologize, I just turned it off.
To make our community a better place for everybody. And I can't thank enough all of the people who got involved in this campaign, to talk to our neighbors, to talk to people about the work that we're doing, the work we want to do to help everyone in this community. Thank you to Matt. Director, and I want to thank just Dad, thanks for being here. I love you. I want to thank everyone that believes in what we're doing for our community and has gotten involved. People who've been doing it as seasoned veterans and people who are doing it for the first time because they care and they want to build a better community. I want everyone to stay involved. This is democracy in progress. This is about all of you having your hand in what we're doing to build a stronger community. So thank you for trusting me. I'm going to fight like hell for all of you and for what we're doing for our community. So just thank you.
So that was Rochelle. She's a Democrat, represents District 104, State House Representative District 104. She apparently has defeated Josh Shuart, the president of the Ansonia Board of Aldermen, in their State House race, according to what you heard just there. That was Kara's voice. And I'm going to give Jean Falbo Sosnovich, the reporter who is there with Kara Rochelle, a call right now to talk about that. Last time in the 2-year election, 2 years ago, I'm trying to say, in 2020, we didn't have this result until 10 o'clock, so I'm a little shocked that it was done that fast, and that's why I started the live stream extremely early. So in terms of race numbers that I think I'm going to be able to get you tonight, you just heard 50% of them. The only thing that I'm really confident about getting to people tonight are, I'm going to show this right now, the races you see here. We'll, of course, get you the Derby road bond. That's Mark Garofalo, or the city of Derby is going to be sending out an email, hopefully, when they tally those numbers. That's a question, $3 million road bond. And then the second one being that match between Kara Rochelle, Josh Shuart. I did not expect those numbers until 10 o'clock. That's usually been the way, and it's only 8:45. So let me check Facebook right now to see if there's been any updates from, say, a Josh Shuart or anything like that, or the Ansonia GOP. I'm going to go through my Chrome right here. And if you're on YouTube with me, feel free to put any info you might have in the comments so I can read and react and all that good stuff. I'm looking right now. Nope, there hasn't been a post in 7 hours there on Josh Shuart's page. Ansonia GOP might be another. Checking real fast. Nope, there hasn't been a post there in 7 hours either. So let me see. I'm going to, bear with me for one moment. I'm going to try to call. Why do I look like there's mayonnaise on the lens? I think I need a new webcam. But let me give a call to Jean Falbo right now, and I'll try to get her on the line. I'm supposed to have Stefan Bohuniak and Kurt Miller join me at 9:15. You guys, Kurt, if you're watching, you're welcome to come on sooner since we're live right now. Let me also just make sure I don't have any Derby road bond news to report. Not yet. I'm not seeing any new emails from the town clerk or anything like that. Bear with me 1 second, because in order to get Jean on the phone, I have to dial it. I have a Rodecaster Pro. I'll be able to pipe her voice into here, but I have to manually dial. Don't ask me why. That's beyond me. They don't pay me enough. Well, they do pay me enough. I get what I deserve, which is not much. All right, 5. Ooh, I almost said the number out loud, huh? Marco V193. Okay, let me see if I can talk to Jean real fast. I'm so excited. I didn't think we'd have anything until 10 o'clock. We already have someone who's declaring victory, Kara Rochelle.
Hello.
Hey, Jean, it's Eugene Driscoll of ValleyIndy.org, and you're on our live stream, just so you know, so don't curse or talk about how much you hate me.
Oh my God, damn it. All right, no, I am ready. I am at Democratic headquarters, Eugene. The atmosphere here is electric. Kara Rochelle, the votes came in. We have with absentee ballots, so this is pretty official. We have 3,305 for Kara, 2,987 for Josh, and that's with absentee. It looks like absentee ballots from Derby carried Kara to victory, to a third term.
Okay,
is
so
what I'm hearing.
let me just repeat those numbers back to you so I know
Yes.
what I have here. You're saying Kara won 3,305 to Shuart's 2,987.
Yes, yes, and that is with Ansonia and Derby reporting their absentee ballots.
Okay,
And
wow.
so that she won by 318 votes.
Did you get a chance to talk to her? I'm wondering, I know they had quite the get out the vote effort happening with Cara Rochelle's campaign. I live with someone who's a registered Democrat. It's not me. I'm independent. But they were calling her nonstop. Did she talk at all about was she worried about this race? This is
she gave her victory speech, and I was kind of recording it and not taking notes really. I apologize, so I didn't really get the gist of it. But it did send you her speach.
I did play that. Yeah. I played it like 3 times because I kept on accidentally turning it off because I'm a moron. I don't know what I'm doing.
I didn't hear her touch on that, but there's, an explosion of, I couldn't even hear in here, once the final absentees were written on the leaderboard.
Yeah, we should stress these are unofficial results from the campaign. I guess the thing to do now, Gene, is to hang out. I just checked Josh Shuart's Facebook page, her opponent in this race, the president of the Board of Aldermen in Ansonia, and I haven't seen any update if he's conceded or anything like that. But maybe the thing to do is to stick around and see if Josh shows up, and maybe try to get a quick interview with him that you can record and send to me quickly. That text thing works.
Now, would you like to speak? I told Kara when I got you on the phone, I'm going to tap her on the shoulder no matter what she's doing to give us a little live interview. Would you like that right now? Hey, she's in my sight.
If she's willing, sure, we'll talk to her real fast.
She's willing, so she's walking over to me. Hang on one second. Hey, Kara, you're on. I have Eugene Driscoll. They're doing a big group shot right now, Eugene. They're taking like a giant picture of all the supporters at Democratic headquarters. We're here at 301 Main Street, the former location of Glitter Craze, downtown Ansonia.
Oh, Glitter Craze, okay.
If you want to hang on for 1 second.
Yeah, I just have. Gene, you're doing great. You're really doing a great job. This is really exciting, and I'm proud of you. And thank you so much for being a guinea pig here.
This is my first call in. You know what I mean? I don't like my radio voice. I don't know what I sound like.
You know how fat I've gotten? I had somebody tell me I put a picture of myself on Facebook. They're like, "Oh, I thought it was John Candy."
No, stop. Nope.
But Gene, all right, you hang out and just interrupt when you can get her. I have joining us is Seymour, former first selectman of Seymour, Kurt Miller.
Okay.
Kurt, there's a lot of screen. Let me see if I can turn down Gene a little. Okay, Gene, can you still hear me?
Yes.
All right. So when you just start screaming if she comes over to you. Kurt Miller, Cara Rochelle in Ansonia has declared victory over Josh Shuart. I don't know if you've heard anything from the Ansonia Republicans. You, of course, work in Ansonia City Hall. Have you heard the same?
I have not heard. Last I heard, Representative Rochelle is up by about 100, but the absentee ballots are yet to be counted. So I think it's going to come down to where those land.
Yeah, I think according to Gene, which she just read to me, those are counted. It was 3305 Rochelle, 2987 Shuart. Of course, this is unofficial. This is numbers from the campaign, but that's the number we have as of now. And she did give a speech and all that.
Okay, hey, Eugene, I'm going to be rude and interrupt you. I have the woman of the hour as we speak. I have Cara Rochelle. I'm going to hand her my phone, and she's just going to give us a little glimpse of what the next 2 years are going to look like as she, scored her third term here with, unofficial votes.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Gene.
Without further ado, guys, here comes Cara Rochelle.
Hello.
Hey, Representative Rochelle, how are you? It's Eugene from the Valley Indy.
I am doing well. How are you? How is everybody tonight?
Not bad at all. I'm joined by Kurt Miller, who is joining me for this election night punditry. So you've declared victory. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
And Kara, I'm just shocked because I know 2 years ago when I covered your campaign there in person, we didn't get the results until 10 o'clock. They're here so early. I mean, these are right numbers. Everything is it's not official, but you're confident that you've won tonight.
Well, we got those from City Hall, so I certainly hope they're accurate.
And then, Kara, in terms of this race, I mean, did you think it was going to be close? I know you had a heck of a get out the vote effort underway. What were your thoughts going into this, say, compared to your last two elections?
Well, I mean, we knew it was going to be closer. It's the midterms, and so, traditionally, historically, we know that, the pendulum always does swing back and forth. People are under a lot of stress right now, and don't know, with all these forces that are making people stressed out, with the economy and in society right now. We knew that there was going to be some pushback and that the pendulum was going to swing. And also, it's just the turnout is not as high during midterms versus general elections. So. We expected it to be a closer race. I'm appreciative, it's about a 10% win. Mostly I just want to thank all of the voters and everyone that's entrusted me to continue working for them in our community. I care very much about the residents of this community and what we're building for Ansonia and Derby in the Lower Valley. And so I just want to thank everyone because we're going to be working hard to deliver as we've been doing and as we'll continue to do for everyone out here.
All right, State Representative Rochelle, I will let you go. I will thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes and allowing someone to shove a phone into your ear and to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's State Representative Kara Rochelle, who has won a third term to represent Ansonia and Derby in the State House of Representatives. I'm going to turn down the cell phone. Gene, are you still there?
I am still there, Eugene. Do you need me here for any more color, or what shall I do now?
No, what you could do is...
Should I go to the Shuart campaign?
I would see if...
Should I make my way across town?
I would see if Josh makes his way into see Kara. Maybe it's the easiest thing to do.
Okay, all right, I can do that.
Yeah, because otherwise, I'm afraid because knowing the Valley, you could do that too. And knowing the Valley Indy luck, you would drive over there, and he would be on his way to, and it would all be a mess.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to hang out here for a few. I'm going to make a couple calls to see if he is coming over here, and then I'll call you back.
All right. Thank you so much, Gene. You're doing a great job.
Absolutely. Yep. Roger. Signing off.
Kurt, I don't think she could hear you when there's all right, there's her.
Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone. Gene's doing a great job there. Gene was a little nervous about this technology stuff. We didn't know if this would work at all. I apologize for not formally introducing you, but I didn't think we would have anything in by 9:15 or so. But there we have. Kara Rochelle has declared victory in Ansonia, and it certainly sounds legitimate. So. I'm always a little hesitant because I'm trapped in my dungeon, so I always doubt what I'm hearing. But we talked to her, we confirmed it with her, a direct source, and so now we'll wait to see what happens. I know the really surprising thing tonight, and you commented I saw on Facebook, Mr. Miller, was Richard Blumenthal being declared the winner 15 seconds after polls closed. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a race that we knew was not going to be winnable as a Republican. I think, unfortunately, there was too much of a slant in the primary to a very specific core of the Republican Party that, thought that she was the answer because of getting the endorsement from former President Trump. I made the comment on election night that as Republicans, we love to die on the Hill, that we won't take the candidate that has the most general election appeal because that candidate doesn't agree with 100% of everything that we stand for. And one or two issues alone, unfortunately drove that away. So, my comment was the other way. It was the irony of it's getting called at 8:08, not the fact that I was questioning the validity of the call.
Oh, right. And I didn't mean to insinuate that. If I did, I apologize. That's not what I knew what you meant. It was just so quick.
Yeah.
And I wasn't insinuating either on my end that there was anything untoward about it. I don't know how they do that.
Friends thought that, I was concerned that for, Leora Levy, I was more kind of mocking the fact that the race was declared that quickly.
Right. I mean, yeah. And we were watching some WTNH stuff, and they gave me permission to use their live feed, but I think it was John McKinney Oh no, he was talking about something else. But they were saying how the Republicans essentially blew this. Any chance they had at defeating Blumenthal was lost the second they didn't nominate Themis Claridis, right? I mean, that's the honest to God truth, right? This is their own forced error. They shot themselves in the foot.
I mean, we kind of thumbed our nose at all the unaffiliated voters out there who, might be fiscally conservative and, socially more tolerant. We had a candidate that was who I think was very appealing in the general election. And we went the complete opposite direction. So once again, the Republican Party died on the hill in a race that was winnable, which is kind of disappointing.
And maybe, Kurt, I'll go back in right now. I just wanted to show people, if anybody's coming on here, that we have our first. I started this early, almost an hour early, because Jean showed up. I said, show up at 8:30. They're not going to have anything till 10 o'clock. And at like 8:30, she's walking in the door, and Rochelle gave her victory speech. I mean, maybe what I'll do, Kurt, and then you can check me here. Let me play the victory speech again. I played it earlier, but there might be people who just missed it, who are just coming on. We also talked to Representative Rochelle briefly, which I'm appreciative of. She's not avoiding us. That's good. All right, so here's her victory speech. Let's see if this works. Can you hear that, Kurt?
Yes.
Okay.
The first thank you has to go to the voters of Ansonia and Derby for trusting me to work for them with all of my heart and all of my skills for our community, to make our community a better place for everybody. And I can't thank enough all of the people who got involved in this campaign, to talk to our neighbors, to talk to people about the work that we're doing, the work we want to do to help everyone in this community. Thank you to Matt. Director, and I want to thank, just Dad, thanks for being here. I love you. I want to thank everyone that believes in what we're doing for our community and has gotten involved. People who've been doing it as seasoned veterans, and people who are doing it for the first.
Okay, so that was it. I can't play the whole thing because my phone shuts off and I don't know how to do technology. The other big news, Kurt, that just came in: State Representative Nicole Claridis-Dietrich has been reelected.
Yeah, that was a barn burner. I spent some time with Representative Claridis-Dietrich today, and we were on the edge of our seat, wondering how that was going to break. But she got up this morning and voted, and put herself over the top at about 6:05. So it was nice win for her. Nicole's worked extremely hard for Seymour, Beacon Falls, and the small part of Derby that she has. Works well across the aisle. Does a great job with other mayors and first selectmen, not just the ones that of the cities that she represents. So, I mean, we're very, as a Seymour resident, I feel blessed to have her as our state rep.
And it's been such a turn. I mean, I guess Stefan, maybe I'll save this for when Stefan comes on, because it's so different from say in 2009, 2011, something like that, where that was a really, that seat was going back and forth between Republicans and Democrats a couple of years back. And now she didn't have an opponent this year. I'm just checking. I'm sorry, go ahead, Kurt.
I'll say Lenny Green and Teresa Conroy. And I believe they went head to head 3 times, which was something. So, it's very different. Seymour's, I think, politics now are very different dynamic than Ansonia and Derby, which is, now being in Ansonia, it's very interesting to kind of sit back and watch how all this unfolds, particularly in a race like this. You have, 2 mayors, Mayor Cassetti, Mayor Zeke, and both Republicans seem to have the will of the people, particularly in Ansonia. With Mayor Cassetti just winning hands down every election that he does, and not even have an opponent in the last election. And, that doesn't necessarily carry over to the state race, which is quite interesting. So it makes you wonder, is it, truly they talk about retail politics, in small towns and cities where the candidate is actually getting out, meeting people, shaking hands, knocking doors. I think just to show that it has a lot, because Mayor Cassetti focuses, I think, a lot on constituent services, getting out, seeing the people. I know, Mayor Zekin tries to do the same thing. And, listen, Representative Rochelle and I have our differences. I mean, that's well documented, but I have to tip my cap to her. I think she ran.
Do you want to hear Cara Rochelle's victory speech again, Kurt? Was that
once was enough for me, but like I said, you got to call it like it is. I mean, I think she banged a ton of doors. They got out, they had a great ground game, and I think that's kind of what pushed it over. I thought Josh was a strong candidate. Educated guy, well-liked guy, just a good guy. And not crazy. As Republicans, we sometimes have our crazy faction, and that's definitely not Josh.
What are you talking about? My Facebook page? All the people who call me every name under the sun?
That's right. So, I thought he was a good general election candidate for Republicans to put up, and it's a shame he didn't win. But I think I think there's a good, strong future in this district for Republicans.
I mean, one thing, it's when you're an incumbent, especially on a state race like that, you have such a huge advantage, I think, at least based on my reporting here in the Valley and elsewhere, is that incumbents, you have that name recognition now. Yep. And this was, going into this, I was thinking, okay, this is really Representative Rochelle's. At least last time, Josh Shuart's an established person, just everything you just said. He's the president of the Board of Aldermen in Ansonia, and he is well liked. Yeah. I have not heard anybody in Derby or Ansonia, of course, say anything negative about him. So I think I know my wife's a registered Democrat, and they were calling her nonstop. Did you vote yet? All day today. Yep. To make sure. She came home. She got stuck in that Route 8 traffic. I will say that I'm pretty sure my wife voted for Cara Rochelle. I'll probably get her fired, or I'm going to get divorced right now. But I'm just saying, she was sitting there and she didn't even want to go back out to vote. And she's like, "Well, they've called me so many times. They'll know. Yeah, I owe them." So it was like a Catholic guilt thing. So she trekked out there.
My wife didn't vote for Josh. Or Karen, as a matter of fact. So,
yeah, thanks for helping me out there. Yeah, hey, you know what? I'll admit I didn't vote today, Kurt. I didn't vote. I didn't get a chance to vote today. I feel ashamed, but I didn't.
See, now you could have pushed one of these races over the top.
Maybe I could have. One thing I will say about Josh Shuart, I thought he had the most effective flyers and posters that I have seen in my 24 years as a local news reporter.
Yeah.
I guess because this appeals to me as a former Mad Magazine guy, but I thought here's what this guy's about. All right. And I thought it would be closer, assuming these numbers are correct, because I think the sentiment out there in the Valley and across the nation is that people are really angry at inflation and the economy, and we're all so worried about our future. And there's this, and again, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but there is this sinking feeling, I think, or maybe it's just me because I work all day in my basement. I'm clinically depressed. But if you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, Cara Rochelle declared victory over Josh Shuart at least almost like a half hour ago, I think. Let me show you what we have so far. I played Cara Rochelle's victory speech that reporter Jean Falbo-Sosnovich texted to me. And we had a brief phone conversation a couple of minutes ago with now her in her third term, State Representative Cara Rochelle for Ansonia and Derby. So what were you starting to say there, Kurt, before I jumped in?
I don't even know at this point. You're just kind of filibustering me.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, I was going to talk about, you had mentioned about some of Josh's campaign literature. Particularly during this time, when you have your state races, these houses are getting bombarded with mail pieces. And I think that the kind of the goofier ones like Josh had, I think they stick out a little bit more, because when you see something like that, to your point, you're going to pick that up and actually take a look at it. And, if nothing else, you're going to see the candidate's name. And, if you're a person that's on the fence, not sure, as crazy as it is, maybe something like that is the thing that pushes you over. Oh, that's the guy that had the crazy flyers. And I love Mad Magazine as a kid, so I'm going to vote for him. as opposed to, the serious flyers that go out that people literally glance at and just throw in the garbage. So.
And I'm just being honest here. I also had a flyer from, a traditional flyer from Cara that I didn't know I had until I just came downstairs. And this one, it did jump out at me. I mean, ultimately not successful. I know there was some blowback. I saw people like in the Ansonia community page, just sort of annoyed by this tactic. I believe it was referred to indirectly as a gimmick. I did hear from other people, like just sources being like, well, that's not the way to do it. But I mean, if good or bad reaction, it definitely stuck in your head, which I think is the point of those ads. But
that's the key to it. So, and again, I take what's said on social media with a grain of salt, because that as supporters of either candidates, just kind of jumping in and trying to control the dialogue of stuff, put their spin on it.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of times it's literally from Ansonia Republicans and Democrats on Facebook, people who work for the campaign or the party leaders talk about it, but they never say they're the party leaders or never actually identify themselves a lot. But all right, so that's that. Maybe we'll check in. We're going to have Stefan Bohuniak come on apparently at about 9:15. I did start this very early. What'd you say?
Bohuniak's hiding someplace.
Oh, I thought you said he's high, but you're saying hiding. Oh, okay, gotcha. I don't need another lawsuit. All right, let's check in. Let's check in with our pals at WTNH to see what they're up to. I do have permission to share this, everybody. I don't want to get any copyright strikes for on YouTube. Also, if anybody's out there and you're watching this on YouTube, you could leave a comment in the chat, and I'll try to respond if I see it.
Yeah, I'm on the site as well. The race that I'm kind of keying in on is the Logan race.
That's pretty amazing, right? They were saying earlier, it sounds like it's going to be a good night for him, and here they are. They're at his headquarters.
Yeah, so it's I think.
Can you hear that, Kurt?
No, I can't hear.
Oh, sorry, I'm an idiot. Hold on.
There hasn't been too much talk just yet. Still a little.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Yep.
Early. We're seeing more people come into the room and just, again, anxiously await more numbers as they come in. But behind me is where George Logan is going to be speaking at the podium at some point this evening. We're told that he's going to be coming here during the 9 o'clock hour. I did walk around the room and I was curious. I wanted to ask some of the supporters here, what was it that made you vote for George Logan? And a lot of them said he's down to earth. His thoughts reflect my thoughts similarly on issues, and the issues that are top of mind are the economy and inflation. I spoke with two gentlemen. They were talking about how, it's difficult to fill up their gas tanks, and these are issues that are real to them. This is something that has been upsetting to them over the last, 6 months or so. This election cycle has really been dominated by economic issues like inflation and, of course, women's reproductive rights in the wake of the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe v. Wade. And it's been interesting to hear Logan's take on this. On abortion, Logan supports...
One thing they've been saying on this broadcast, Kurt, is that I guess the Democratic turnout in some of the bigger cities earlier tonight seemed less than usual, and Republicans were turning out more in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Which could be have a big impact on this race because it's such a mix of communities and demographics.
Are feeling hopeful and excited.
This is definitely an interesting one. I think a lot of it comes down to the bigger cities that are in that 5th district, and I'm sure those numbers are not in as of yet. But I think to the points that the reporter made, I think George kind of resonates with the average voter. He's kind of a regular guy. Per se, if you get to know him, just he's bilingual. He plays the guitar. He's got a great personality. Really intelligent guy, but can have a conversation at a very high level. But at the same time, let's say less sophisticated voter. George can have that conversation with those folks as well. I think he's just a good all-around candidate for a district that's kind of all-encompassing, because you have from the the Northwest Hills. Right on down into New Britain and Waterbury and so on. So I think, for once we put up a very strong candidate in that district.
Okay, and I don't mean to be rude there. I'm just answering a text message. That's the
Oh,
typing you hear.
Yeah, it'll
But-
be.
All right, so we're trying to see if we can get a comment. Jean is in Ansonia at Cara Rochelle's headquarters, and I was trying to see if she could get a comment from Josh Shuart. Okay, here comes Stefan Bohuniak. So joining us, I'll give him the proper introduction that I failed to give you. I apologize again, Mr. Miller. Stefan Bohuniak is the former chairman of the Seymour Town Democratic Committee, or the Seymour Democratic Town Committee. And just an all-around good guy. One of my favorite guys to get into fights with on Twitter over Marvel movies.
I was gonna say, if we're not gonna see the pretty face, then I'm leaving.
He's.
There it is.
I think I just muted him. Sorry, I think I just muted you, Stefan.
Yeah, if I can't see that face, then I'm just leaving.
There he is.
All right, well, here it is.
Wow.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, Stefan, I don't know if you've heard, but Cara Rochelle defeated Josh Shuart. She declared victory in that race down there in Ansonia-Derby. What are your thoughts? What's your reaction to that?
It's expected. It was what I would consider to be the best candidate that she's had run against her by a large margin. It was closer than her past races have been, but it's still fairly comfortable. So no big surprise.
Now,
Happy for her.
Was the campaign nervous? Was the Rochelle campaign nervous heading into this thing, or were they thinking?
Every campaign's nervous. I don't know. I don't know any more nervous than any other time.
I did have a text message earlier from Kurt. You were talking about filibustering, and I don't know if you know Rick Dunn, local Derby guy.
He is the one-man filibuster.
So I'm looking at a text from him. He had predicted that basically Rochelle would win in a cakewalk. I can't find his exact words, but he asked me to read that to you once the results came in. He did predict it, and he was correct.
I'm sure Rick is listening. Could you tell him that text messages should not be in paragraph format, and there should not be multiple paragraphs in any text message? So,
you should call him Boomer. All right, let's go back and check in with what's going on. Oh, we're getting Tom Dutchick in the gang here. We definitely want to check in with these guys.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Let me share the screen. I'm sharing the sound. This is WTNH coverage of tonight's election.
To the hall when they called the race with like 3 minutes into it, so she's like, she probably can't get to the phone yet, right, Joe?
Yeah, well, I mean,
And you guys feel free to add your 2 cents. Oh, you can be heard as well.
Just on a general note, I think this is going to be an interesting night, because I think in Connecticut it's not going to be particularly close, and I think Democrats will win pretty easily. But in the country, I think Democrats are going to get smoked.
That's sort of the conventional wisdom coming into this because of the economy. People are just angry and fed up over the state of the economy, inflation, gas prices, everything, broken shoelaces. And and I guess traditionally midterms is when the incumbent president gets
she's not
his clock cleaned.
like this.
Yeah, they always
so
do.
who knows what's happening?
And
in
we've
her room.
all
I think the concern is if you have the House flip like they say it's going to flip, it's going to bog everything down for 2 years, because everybody's going to go into campaign mode anyway.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen.
On a challenging time for our economy, it's going to be a shame that we're not going to get stuff done, because it's just everything is going to be a roadblock, which is not going to be beneficial. So.
All right, if there's anybody out there, my name is Eugene Driscoll. That's Kurt Miller, the former first selectman of the town of Seymour, and Stefan Bohuniak, the former Democratic Party head in the town of Seymour. And the news of the night so far, locally at least, in the Naugatuck Valley, is that Cara Rochelle declared victory over Josh Shuart in their race for the State House. I have another person in. I have Jim Gilday, who I invited. He's going to come into the room.
Wow.
I wonder if I don't have Derby road bond results yet. I'm waiting for those.
Now you're the heavy.
Well, the
Finally,
Derby,
somebody with their head on their shoulders.
the Derby road bond. It is a hello, Jim Gilday. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Not bad at all. I'll have you react to the news of the night. Oh, actually, first of all, let me ask you, because I haven't heard anything about the road bond because I'm stuck in my bunker. My Valley Indy dungeon newsroom. Have you heard whether it passed, failed?
I have heard. I just got to be honest with you, if I could say real quick.
two coolest guys in Seymour, right there on coolest Seymour guys, right there on the phone with me. That's pretty cool. Good stuff. The road, it would appear as if the road package is going to pass by about 1,900 to 1,400, by about 500 votes.
Okay. Now, on one hand, I think like Derby is, based on my experience covering the city in the last however many years, decade or so, it is an electorate that they want to get the roads paved. They're not shy about supporting infrastructure projects. I mean, they passed that WPCA that added $256 a year to our bill on top of our regular bill. And now they've passed $3 million to pave and mill and pave the roads. But you were very much against this, Jim.
Well, I want to qualify. I want to say two quick things. First, it was, listen, I think we all expected it to pass. I was a little surprised. I mean, the last time we did a road bond project in 2014, it passed by almost twice as much. It passed by almost 900 votes. So I think there's historically, I expected it actually to do better. A. B, I would not tell you I was against the roads. I would just tell you I was against, I think I was just against the process. The process was one that was not collaborative, but nothing in this town has been collaborative for the last 9 months. So I think I was just, I just want to be clear. I was against the process and how it was done in the vacuum.
And in terms of the process, I think you wrote a letter or somebody wrote a letter, maybe I'm misattributing it to you, but there was this feeling among people who opposed this initiative. You wanted to see more of a list of, okay, let's have a list of everything we need to get done instead of just picking this sort of, for lack of a better term, low-hanging fruit of a $3 million road bond.
My goal, I would have done it more holistically. For certain, I would have looked at the big picture and I would have identified what our needs were, what our fire department needs were, what our school education needs were, what our city building needs were, and I would have put together a comprehensive list. I think what they chose to do instead is to say, hey, what could we just get through, try to put in place for the next election, and pick projects by in that fashion. So that would have been my preference.
Okay, if anybody's just joining us, that's Jim Gilday. We've got Stefan Bohuniak here, Kurt Miller. We're talking about election. Jim just said that it appears that Derby's road bond passed. So I'm still waiting to see if I get an email from the city confirming that. I don't have anything yet. I don't see anything on Facebook as of yet. But the other news that we broke earlier, Gene Falbo reported that Cara Rochelle declared victory in the State House District 104, Mr. Gilday. You see the numbers right there. That's completely unofficial. That's from the campaign. But what are your thoughts on that victory?
I would agree with what Stefan said. That was certainly Josh was the, and again, Joe Jawman is a great guy and was a strong candidate too, but certainly Josh was the strongest candidate that she has faced. I think she's had a few issues herself, over the last couple of years. I'm not surprised how close it was. I'm not surprised that she won. Listen, we're always going to do this a Monday morning quarterback. I think Josh probably left some Derby votes on the table. I think his strategy was definitely Ansonia centric. I think when you see how close it was, I think maybe he thinks about where his life is in 2 years, and I think maybe if he just again, I think he left some Derby votes on the table. Not a lot of signs in Derby, certainly not the big signs in Derby. Didn't really have a big presence in Derby, and I think he was a strong candidate, and I think that may at some point have been the difference. Without looking at the numbers, but yes.
What's your take on the fact we have Mayor Cassetti in Ansonia, who was featured in all the not all of them, but he endorsed them. They released a video today showing that he endorsed them, and I'm only asking this so I can play my Mayor Cassetti clip.
Good evening, residents of the great city of Ansonia. This is Mayor David Cassetti.
But it doesn't seem that popularity, and he's extremely popular, and Team Cassetti is extremely popular in Ansonia in the local elections. They continue to, they're almost like, they picked up so many seats. I think it's like a car crossing 100,000 miles there on the Board of Aldermen. And then Democrats, once they're elected, they leave. So, and yet Cara Rochelle keeps winning. Why isn't Cassetti's popularity carrying a state race?
Well, two things, and then I don't want to jump in on anybody else, but two things. First, it is a two-town city. It's two-town district. And again, I think there was definitely some votes left on the table in Derby. Also, listen, historically, I mean, if you go back from prior to Kara, you had Linda Gentile. Before Linda Gentile, you had Vinnie Tanucci. But I mean, it is just historically, you know, you had Gene Skronsky. I mean, it's just, with the exception of the aforementioned Tom Dudchek for a few years in the 80s. I mean, that's been a Democratic district forever. And that's really some heavy lift to flip that.
And Stefan Bohuniak, do you have thoughts on Mayor Cassetti's not being able to ride a coattails? Is it just because a state race is completely different than a local race? I know we're talking two completely different.
State race is different. Kara's been very active and present in her district. I did some door knocking for Kara this year, and every door you go to, people know her. People like her. They've had, whether they're going to vote for her or not, they've had positive interactions with her. She's brought things to them. She faces a tremendous amount of negative ads and negative attacks, more so than most. I think that turned some people off. Heard from a lot of people that they were just getting sick of the negativity. So I think that Kara is an excellent legislator, and I think people know that.
Yeah, and let me ask you guys something, because this was, I know in the last election, the police accountability bill was sort of the main point of Republicans who were trying to unseat Kara Rochelle at that time. This time it was all the ads said about the economy, but then there was this West Haven issue where the city of West Haven paid her improperly using COVID money to do a fire study, which was a subject of great controversy months ago, and definitely something Ansonia GOP brought up again and again. And I remember talking to a lot of people 6 or 7 months ago who were wavering on what was going to happen there. So at the end of the day, that was a non-issue, would you say?
Is that for me?
Stefan, yeah. Sorry.
I can't speak to that. I don't know. I'm not a Derby or Ansonia voter. From what I know, and I talked to Kara at length about this, I've talked to other people at length about this. Kara had no, idea that that money was improper. She gave it away as soon as she found out. And I don't, she's not under any
Maybe this is a better question, Stefan. Do you think the fact that the Ansonia GOP hammered Kara so frequently on that one issue, did it have the opposite effect? Did they pull it out too early from a political point of view?
There's no way to know. I think if you look at the Ansonia GOP Facebook page, which is where they were peddling a lot of this stuff, you can see that it got very little interaction. The interaction it got was with the same people. At a certain point, it becomes an echo chamber. The issue didn't catch on because I don't think it was as big of an issue as certain members of the Ansonia GOP thought it might be.
Does anyone else want to answer that?
I just want to say that I listen, I do think it was an issue. Listen, she ran against Joe Jauman 4 years ago, a very similar candidate, a popular Ansonia Republican Board of Aldermen, she beat him by 1,000 votes in an election where Lamont and Cabrera both lost the district ahead of her. So I think the fact, granted, Josh Shuart is a great personality, funny guy, nice guy, but clearly there was a 600 vote swing from her election against a very similar candidate, Joe Jauman, 4 years ago. I think it played a role. Clearly not enough of a role, but it was an impact.
Kurt, did you want to add anything to that?
I think it definitely had some impact, but I don't think it had enough of what they were looking for. To your point that maybe they beat the drum a little too often too early, so it kind of got drowned out near the end, potentially. I'm not going to make comment on what I thought about the whole incident overall. But I think the political ramifications of it, I don't think had the impact that the Republicans in Ansonia hoped that it might. To Jimmy's point.
And then just in general, and this is me editorializing here, one thing with all these races, look, Mary Wielander's running for re-election. I don't know anything about her opponent at all. And I tried Googling any kind of articles on that. We're really lacking, especially here in the Valley. And I'm guilty of this too, but I'm only one man. I could only cover so much. There's nobody covering these races. No. There really is, other than, and I didn't even do it this year, but you send out the questionnaire being like, what's your favorite color? Who's your favorite baseball player? That's the extent of the coverage. And, that's a real issue. I don't know what the answer is there. I did make it a point this year. I just said, I'm not going to run letters to the editors. I'm not going to cover these races because at a certain point it was just overwhelming. I had some things going on in my private life too I had to deal with kids and all that good stuff. So anyway, I don't know if that makes a difference neither here nor there, but there is no coverage of these races.
Now, Eugene, not that I want to cut off this riveting conversation, but if you look outside of your basement window and you look at some of the state races and you look at the numbers, the surprising one of all is the state treasurer's race, where Harry Aurora is only 1.5% behind Eric Russell. And if you compare that to the other constitutional officers, where most of those races are hovering around a 10% spread, this could be extremely interesting as the night goes on.
Let's see. Let's check in with the gang on WTNH to see what they're talking about. And of course, gentlemen, I don't know how long we'll do this. I figured we'd go for an hour or so. But if anybody has to duck out, I mean, don't feel like.
Where else would we rather be?
You're gonna hurt my feelings. Yeah, that's true. It's either this or I listen to the Stuttering John podcast.
Right.
All right.
You and your Stuttering John tweets, man. It's a never-ending deluge with you.
It's getting me. I might switch when the Valley Indy goes under. I'm going to be a Stuttering John reaction channel. I'm getting 2,000, 8,000 views on that stuff.
Hey, let's not talk about the Valley Indy going under.
Yeah, no way.
Where would I get my news? Come on.
Yeah,
that's right.
Popular, if not the most popular governor in the country. We see that from Charlie Baker in Massachusetts. We know Ned Lamont's one of the most popular Democratic.
Can you guys hear that? Did I share the sound?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, guys. Lisa, Dennis.
All right, gentlemen.
Our election coverage continues right now on WCTX.
We'll be right back with more numbers.
All right, I picked the perfect time to join our friends at WTNH. They're going to commercial. So still nothing on. All right, I got Gene Falbo. I'm at Josh. You want to see if we'll talk live? I just taped his speech. Okay, so we're gonna get. I'm gonna get a. I think I have a text, a conversation with Josh Shuart that I'll play. I just have to here talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I gotta text Gene.
So Stefan, it's time to start prepping for 23. You guys ready?
No.
All right, here we go. I believe this is an audio
22.
This is audio of Josh Shuart talking, addressing supporters. Gene says, okay, not sure if it's loud enough. All right, let's see here.
Also being the best while doing that. And I'll enjoy his special recipe Manhattan as honor. Actually, one of the quotes that I used in the interview was just a quote out of his Manhattan recipe. So maybe you can find that later. And I want to thank my mother, who actually passed away suddenly about 8 years ago. But I know she's upstairs and very proud of how things went, and mostly the way we conducted things. And thank my brothers as well, Thor and Noah.
Are you guys able to make that out at all, or am I wasting? Okay.
Yeah, we hear it perfectly.
We heard him.
Who always were encouraging me. And bottom line is I've basically gone for almost a year without seeing my family. I haven't been up to, my dad lives in Cape Cod. I haven't been up there since maybe January or February. So it's been like a year sacrifice. So I'm looking forward to finally reconnecting with them. And I know I've missed people, I'm looking around. But anyone who's been here, my in-laws, Studleys for showing up tonight, Nick for being outside, he's been all day. I think I've covered pretty much everybody in here, but everyone has helped me at some point. I'll reward your confidence by continuing to work hard for the city. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I sort of suspected that, knowing politics as I know it, that campaigns will throw money at incumbents to save them. And I went into this knowing that, or thinking that they were going to throw money at my opponent to make sure that they kept her in office. And I thought, perfect, we're going to get a fire school out of this the last second.
Oops, sorry, just cut out there. I can only play so much. There was too much thanking, Josh. I apologize. Unedited video there, unedited audio. So he was saying that that was interesting, though. He feels that the Democrats threw a lot of money at Cara Rochelle. So I said, I haven't heard that. Has anybody else heard that? Oh, we've got John Federn, the head of the Ansonia Democrats, coming in. Going to let John in, too. Give 1 second. I can try to play this again, too.
Listen, Jimmy, invite any other Republicans, or am I just holding the 10 post up here myself?
I did invite John Marini. He has an invite, and I invited Walt Mayhew. And then if anybody else wants to come in, they can message me or text me or call me. If you have my cell phone, you can call me, and I can answer and pipe anybody right in. Let's see, John. I don't know if we can hear you, John. Are you there?
I am here.
All right, congratulations on your win tonight. I guess Cara she's officially declared victory.
Yes.
How we were just listening to Josh Shuart's concession speech. I didn't get to play the whole thing. I listened to about half of it live just now, and he was talking about. I guess she was saying that Cara's campaign received a lot of money. I guess. How did the campaign do in terms of fundraising? I didn't look at any of that information compared to Josh's. And do you think funding played a role in your victory tonight?
Well, actually, I mean, her campaign itself. I mean, she was part of the CEP, so everybody gets the same amount of money. Once you get to the certain point of collecting enough donations, everybody gets from the same pot basically, and the same amount of money. I don't know if they're referring to the Democratic Town Committee. We did do some fundraising. We did pretty well this year, and we're pretty proud of that. So we did, not only for her though, we raised money for all of the candidates, whether it's her or George Cabrera. So, I don't really think the amount of money that we had really had much of anything to do with her victory. It helps, but she's a strong candidate, and she's proved it now 3 times in a row. So that's what I would say.
And I was wondering and asking everybody on this call to talk about, the Cassetti is extremely popular in Ansonia, and yet the Democrat keeps winning that seat over and over again. But then I'll sort of inverse that question for you. If Cara can win 3 times in a row, what's the disconnect between what happens on the state level and your local level, where the last election did not go well at all for the Democrats, and then there was sort of that right after the election, there was whatever happened, there was some infighting, I guess, for lack of a better word term. So what's the deal there? Why can you win on the state level but not at the hyper-local
I don't
level?
think it's a fair comparison to compare last year, because the chairman at the time chose not to run a mayoral candidate. Nobody wanted to step up to do that, and that kind of skews an election right there. We can go back, though, to the previous elections where we did have a mayoral candidate. Now, I'm going to have to talk about that more from an outsider standpoint, because I wasn't involved with the committee back when Phil Tripp or Tarek Raslin ran. So I kind of have more outside knowledge, I guess, than insider knowledge on that. There's no doubt that Mayor Cassetti is very popular. Why that doesn't translate into the state elections, I don't. That's a very good question. He did very strongly back Josh in this election. His name was, his face was up next to Josh's on a number of the signs. So I think what this shows is that, from a standpoint of party strength, the Democratic Party is kind of coming back, maybe from the like a phoenix from the ashes at this point, because I know last year was a very, very brutal year, but I think we're really showing our strength now. This victory, and I'm seeing that George Cabrera also won in Ansonia, which I believe is his first time winning Ansonia in the 3 times that he's run.
Do you know if he won his race overall? Has he declared victory?
I don't know that yet. No.
Okay.
I just know where we are in Ansonia. So both of those are a really good sign that
John, hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Hold on. Kurt, what did you say there? I could not hear you.
I just got a text from a friend who's a lobbyist up in Hartford who's tracking everything. And he said he's hearing that race is close.
The Cabrera race is close. Okay.
Yep.
And what about Mary Welander? Has anybody heard about? I'm Derby centric. So.
I have no numbers for Mary. That would be for.
I'm sorry, Kurt.
I was gonna say I would expect she's gonna win hands down.
Yeah, I think Mary's gonna win pretty easily. She kept it real close in Derby, won Orange and Hamden, and is last I heard only waiting on Woodbridge, which she should win pretty easily.
Yeah, and let me ask you guys, if you have any other election info, feel free to I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm just like shooting spitballs. So please, if you have legitimate info, now would be the time
that's
to
all the
share.
info I have so far, but if I get more, I'll fire it off.
And then I just want to read a quick comment. This is from Tom H. He's in a diner listening to people talk about Herschel Walker race. Who cares? Thank you for covering the local scene. As Tip O'Neill said, all politics are local.
We need more like you, Tom.
This is WADS, Ansonia Stratford Trumbull.
Okay, we're gonna have Josh call. Okay, let's talk. So we're gonna hear from Josh Shuart directly in a moment. If that's okay with everybody.
I'm wondering if you can get 6 or 7 more Democrats on this. You know, let's keep this nice and balanced.
Again, all I do, I put out the offers.
I am an independent.
What do you want me to do? Who else can we get? John Marini, where are you?
Kurt, it's only 2-1-1 at that point. You know, that's not bad.
2-1-1.
Mayor Cassetti, if you're out there, call in. John Marini, if you're out there, call in. Walt Mayhew, if you're out there, call in. Because apparently the Derby road bond passed, although I have not received anything.
Wait a minute, time out. If Walt Mayhew jumps on this, then Stefan, John, and I are just going to sit back with some popcorn.
Yeah.
And just watch it.
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't need to be any part of that.
Well, that was, I mean, the Derby road bond was very interesting, at least as a political observer, because it was like, okay, there is a lot of infighting happening within Derby politics right now. It's probably to the level it was when the Valley Indy launched in 2009, when we had, somebody was fired, but he said, no, you resigned, and there was a lawsuit, and then, all kinds of stuff was going on. So
yeah, and that candidate lost the next election. Just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm wondering, I was like, is this okay? She's calling. Jean's going to call in 1 second. Was this referendum, was this road bond referendum going to be some type of referendum on Mayor Zekin? And if it passed, well, okay. All right, here it is.
A nice
ring. Some of these noises are just really disturbing, Eugene.
Stefan, what do you got? Hello?
Hey, Eugene, it's Gene. Am I live?
You are live, yeah. I've got Kurt Miller in the house, Jim Gilday, John Feder.
What's up, Kurt? Hey, Jim.
Gene, are you
Gene,
drinking?
the roving Ansonia reporter. I am live at, I'm not drinking, I'm live at Anthony's Auto Body. Remodeled Anthony's Auto Body. It's beautiful. Can you hear me?
What happened to your car? Why are you at the auto body shop?
This is Josh's headquarters.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha.
I thought that was the Four Seasons Total Landscaping equivalent.
We are standing in. This is fabulous. There's room for a lot of cars to be repaired here. I'll grab my purse.
Mary just texted me that she won.
Mary Wielander has won, according to a text received by Jim Gilday from Mary Wielander. So we have that going on. All right, so if it's just there,
let me interrupt you guys for a second. I have to, the man who put up a hell of a fight. I have Josh Shuart, Board of Aldermen president, Ansonia, having a little sip of something right here. It's pretty loud in the other room, so we're in the big giant garage right here at Anthony's Auto Body. And without further ado, I'm giving you Josh Shuart.
All right, thank you, Gene.
Hello.
Hey, Josh, it's Eugene. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. So we got a live stream going, and unfortunately, every Democrat from the Valley's on here. Kurt Miller keeps complaining, so I apologize in advance. But all right, so you're at the end, the literal end of your first campaign for state office. It didn't go the way you wanted. What's going through your head right now? I'm going to ask the basic reporter question, and that is, how do you feel right now?
I feel like I did everything I could. I had the time of my life. I made genuine friendships and partnerships along the way. And I did things my way, and I did things honestly. No matter what anyone says, I was on a campaign to promote myself and what I thought I could do for the two cities. And voters seemingly did not fully agree with that. So it looks like it was razor thin margin, so we'll see how that goes. But I had a great time. My wife joked that regardless of what happened from the beginning, she's like, "This is going in your obituary." So have a good time. I lost a lot of weight. I look a lot better than I did when I started the campaign. I ran through a pair of sneakers. I wore the treads off of them, and just met a lot of great people. And that's all I'll say. I was hoping that I could take my unique skill set and translate that into making some positive change for the two communities. I love both cities. I live in Ansonia. My kids went to school in Derby. I coached and been on boards in Derby. And those are the two. And we go to church in Derby. And those are the two communities that I love and I live in. And those are basically the only two that I would be interested in representing. So,
do you think you'll give it another try now that you've had a taste of a state race? Would you try again in 2 years to challenge Cara Rochelle?
Eugene, I'm not a politician. I am a professor, so I have no idea. I did have a good time doing it, a surprisingly good time. I'm actually sad that the campaign's over because I like going out. I started going out pretty much every day, sometimes twice a day. I really enjoyed it, but I'm not someone who's interested in the long-term political stuff. And I was only interested in political endeavors as a means to an end to try to improve our cities. My kids were born, in the Valley, and I want to keep them in here. And I feel like I could have done some things that would make it more livable and affordable here.
All right. And then my last question, Josh, and I want to thank you very much for allowing a phone to be shoved into your face and just talking to me in a live stream. I truly appreciate that.
You do know that Jean's very forceful with her phone.
It feels like she's calling from an auto body shop. I didn't know. I thought she put you in her trunk or something. I don't know what was going on. That made me nervous for a second. But wait, you can't see this, but I'm holding up your Mad Magazine flyer that arrived at my house. I gotta say, I thought those who did those flyers. I thought they were great. I know some people said otherwise, but I thought they were just they grabbed your attention. Who's behind that?
I don't know that people said otherwise, Eugene. I think actually, other than a few naysayers, I believe everyone liked them. And I can tell you that I went to doors and people had the entire collection of all the mailers that we did. So I know that they were memorable. And the point was to get people's attention and to have them interact with it. And, to want to go back to it and have it simple. They could see some facts. They could see a plan. They could refer back to it, understand it, and also be entertained by it. We printed them on high quality, laminated cardstock, which is unlike pretty much every other campaign mailer that I've ever thrown in the garbage before. And so I do know that people looked at them. And I don't share my secrets as far as where, what the source was. I am a marketing professor.
In your campaign filings. Hold on. I'll be right back. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to do that. Josh, you probably have other things to do tonight, so I want to thank you very much for calling, and tell Jean she's done. She can go home.
Jean's a great asset. Jean is a great asset for the Valley Independent Sentinel, and hopefully she's going to get a raise out of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Josh is going to pay
us.
All right. Take it easy, Josh. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, so that was Josh Shuart right there reacting to his loss to Cara Rochelle. That said, that happened earlier. I'm checking some. Dawn Marie Hunter says, I said otherwise, not honest. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Dawn Marie. It's hard to, sometimes the chat is behind the conversation, and I'm also a moron. So, all right, should we check in with, so you say Mary Wheelander won, we're hearing.
Mary won, and she actually won pretty big. It's looking like unofficially she's a 57-43, which, in and of itself is also impressive, right? I mean, it's a long-held Republican district. Before Themis, you had Ellen Scalater for a few years, but then you had Alan Schlesinger, and that's usually been a pretty stronghold for Republicans. So that's a pretty big plurality, Democrat pulling 57%.
Jimmy, for an unaffiliated, you're pretty tied in with these Democratic reps. Would you like to explain that?
No comment.
Yeah, Jim, are you going to run for Derby mayor?
No, God, no. God, no. That's no.
Was that a God no, or was that a?
No, I would not
me or Miller?
I would not run for mayor.
All right. And let me ask, because I was going to check in with WTNH, but Stefan Bohuniak, Nicole Claridis Deacher ran unopposed this year, as far as I know.
Did she win?
She did. She did win.
She snuck it out.
She
won by a couple.
But what's going on with the Democrats to our north here? How come there was nobody to challenge Nicole Claridis Deacher this year?
It's a good question. I wasn't as involved in the process this year, so I can't speak too closely as to what sort of candidates were asked. I certainly didn't want to do it myself. It's a very tough one to win. She's a tough opponent. She's very popular, so I don't think it's a big surprise that people wouldn't be lining up to run against her.
You know what I think it is? You know what I think it is, Gene? I think Kurt's just created a legacy there, you know? Anne-Marie, no opponent. Nicole, no opponent. He just set a high bar there when he was first elected.
A lot of good candidates the Republicans put up.
I apologize for all the texts, but I have my phone hooked up to this, so I'm getting texts. I hope he's okay with me reading it, but I did get a text message from Second Ward Alderman Ron Sill of Derby about the road bond. He says, "Don't forget the road bond winning. It's a victory for Derby and for the old man who passed it." I guess he's referring, because that was one thing that Ron Sill said before the road bond went out. He wanted to point out that it was from the Board of Aldermen. He was concerned because he's a Democrat and he wanted this to pass. So that's Ron Sill right there. And so we got some things coming in. Jason Edwards, hello. Tom H. Videos, Derby road bonding question with similar wording or style to what Shelton has done in bonding questions on the same subject. What was the controversy? Okay, well, we have Jim Gilday could talk about, he opposed the road bond, and a couple of members of the Board of Ed opposed the road bond. We explained this earlier, but you weren't happy with the process and you want to see more of a holistic approach to what we're borrowing money for and all the needs in the city of Derby. Is that right?
Yeah, and again, I don't think we're against the roads. I think we're just against how it was handled. The fact that there are many needs in our city, and instead of doing it holistically, it was the very narrow view. And again, there was just simply no collaboration. And when you look at how this one was significantly closer than the 2014 road bond, there was a fair amount of people who opposed this as well. So, and opposed the process. I don't think it's controversial at all. It's just the way it was handled.
Okay, gotcha. And we have got Gene Falbo calling in. Hold on one second. Hi, Gene Falbo Sostovich. It's Eugene and Jim Gilday and Stefan Bohuniak and Kurt Miller, and John Federer had to step out. Thank you so much, John, for coming on. I very much appreciate that. What's going on, Gene?
Okay, so I just wanted to know if I'm freed up for the night.
Wow, that's embarrassing.
Am I done?
Yes,
and John
yes,
Shuart
Gene.
could not have said more truer words, right? At the end of that interview? I love it.
Yeah, you did a great job tonight. Was Mayor Cassetti there or anything? Did you happen to rub elbows with any of the Ansonia politicals?
I did not. The mayor was not here. Tony Mamone, fellow alderman, with Josh, was here. Jared Heon was here, planning and zoning chair. I did not see the mayor. No, I did not. John Marini, of course, is here. Yeah.
Neither here nor there. But, tell Marini if he wants to stop in. He does have the Zoom invite. All right, Gene. Yeah, you can go. Thank you so much. You did a wonderful job. Something we've never done here at the Valley Indy, where we just literally live streamed, not even from the polls, but I'm in my basement and you're on a phone in Ansonia.
I am outside Anthony's Auto Body getting my car fixed.
Well, tell him to buy an ad. We've mentioned him so many times, Anthony.
I will do that. All right. Good night, all.
Good night, Gene.
Yeah, Gene.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Gene.
Then we have a comment from I don't know who this is from. Voodist, an oil painter. Not sure that copyright holders would be happy with the mailers. He's talking about the Mad Magazine thing. Although I'm no expert on that. I don't know. But all right, let's check in. You want to check in with WTNH? Hopefully they got Dudchick talking.
Yeah, it looks like he's on.
He's on. All right, let me get in there. I got to share the screen. I got to do that. I got to do the Stuttering John impersonation.
Any like 70s or 80s movies you want to ramble on about for a while, Eugene?
No, I want to talk about man babies who watch Marvel movies all day.
If you ever get to the coach, the 8-0
Wakanda
coach
Forever
of the
coming out
Berlin
Friday.
Ravens,
Can't wait.
my friend Rick Green.
I watched Terrifier 2. That was pretty entertaining. Not a family movie.
Glad to be here, Tom.
Hey, I just got a
Hey,
text
so you
message
were
from
great
Rick
columnist
Dunn.
for the Hartford Current.
Have we crossed into the Bowen hour yet, or are we still in normal time? And in honor of Bowen, that crazy lunatic, hold on. Here we go. I have a nice bottle. This session is sponsored by Macallan 15. You know, Bowen would generally have some wacky, I don't know, Japanese whiskey that he found in, you know, some random store someplace. But in honor of him, I brought this out.
I think you drink a nice Macallan.
There we go. I will say that Rick Dunn's response to Josh's mail pieces is wildly inappropriate. So I will not read it, but I will share it with the three of you just so you can see it.
Oh, boy. All right, let's see. So here we got a bunch of talking heads, including Rick Green, former bigwig from the Hartford Current. He's actually the guy that gave me permission to do this, so I can't say anything bad about him.
Pandemic hit, I think universally, most people thought Governor Lamont really showed leadership. But he also changed some of his internal team. That got better, as you know, Joe, got better footing, stood up against some of the tax increases Joe's Democrats wanted to do in the legislature. That helped him out with moderate voters throughout Fairfield County as well. And I think, you know, what we're seeing now is what we've seen over the last 2 years. People like Ned Lamont. People generally feel we're doing a little bit better on the right track in Connecticut. And if you like someone and you think we're on the right track, that's who you're going to
And it's a blue state, Joe. Come on.
It is a blue state, and I think that does help with some of the policy issues. But during COVID, I remember the press conferences so well. And when Governor Lamont didn't know the answer, he'd always kick it over to the public health professional. He'd kick it over to somebody. You can tell he's not in it for his ego, that he genuinely loves the state of Connecticut. I think that helps with those suburban voters. In Berlin, when I went to the close recount, he was thousands of votes behind. I'm looking at some quick numbers.
If I could expand on that, I think one thing that people like about Governor Lamont is he's very enthusiastically positive about Connecticut, which is something you don't see a lot from our leaders. So I think that resonates with people.
In his direction right now at
we're seeing similar trends to what we saw in the rematch between Dan Malloy and Tom Foley. Suburban towns where Dan Malloy barely won or lost, he did a lot better 4 years later. We're seeing right now, it's early, that same trend with the governor.
What does this do for him as he approaches his next term here? Two former legislators here. Does he have something of a mandate if he wins by 12 or 14 points?
I think we're jumping ahead yet since the race hasn't been called. But look, I think there are two trains of thought. One is the Democrats will still have large majorities in the legislature. Looks like they actually may pick up a seat or two in the state Senate, which could give them a veto-proof majority, and they're just going to roll Governor Lamont. The second train of thought is in 2025, those fiscal guardrails go away. If I'm Governor Lamont, I say I will never sign a budget that doesn't reinstitute those fiscal guardrails.
And, you know, we can all assume maybe that he's not going to run for a third term. Things do change, but really it's about his legacy, but more importantly for him and the type of person he is, what's going to be the legacy for the state of Connecticut? Dan Malloy did some controversial things, and I think history will remember him a lot more fondly than we currently do now.
What'd you say, Kurt?
Controversial is a word for it.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's the polar opposite. Malloy was somebody nobody liked personally. Lamont is somebody everyone likes personally.
And I think that's one of the strengths that the governor actually has is he's personable. I said I met with him more times in his first 3 weeks in office than I did with Governor Malloy in 8 years in office.
And, you know, one big difference, in my opinion, between Lamont and Malloy, having been appointed to boards and commissions by them both, is Lamont genuinely is interested in the opinions of others. Malloy was genuinely interested in the opinion of himself.
Well, let me ask Stefan. I'm sorry, I stepped on somebody. What?
I say he's doing a bang-up job at the University of Maine. They're thrilled to have him up there.
I've read some of those headlines. Let me ask Jim Gilday and Stefan Bohuniak. Kurt had joined early, which I appreciate because Rochelle declared victory long before I was scheduled to start this live stream. So I went live and had a lot of flop sweat for a little bit. But as soon as 8 p.m. hit, polls closed, Richard Blumenthal was called the winner by the AP. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Bohuniak and Mr. Gilday?
Go ahead.
I mean, I'll go for. So listen, I think it's not unexpected. I think that I think the Republican Party at times is intent on self-destroying themselves. I think that they had a candidate who they agreed with 80% of the time, who would have been had a competitive race, would have certainly waited till after 8. We would have waited till after 8 o'clock to get the poll results. But they just look for the 100%, check every box, and if they continue to govern that way, what little influence they have from a state level is going to get even smaller. They really have to start thinking bigger picture, bigger tent.
Yeah, I mean, Jim's right. The Trumpism kind of thing doesn't play well here. The fact that the Republicans even considered picking somebody other than Themis is insane. The fact that she lost that primary, I think you could have called the race for Blumenthal that night. There was no chance Leora Levy would ever win here. I don't know that Themis would have won, but I think she could have run close. And it was clear and obvious that everybody except for some part of the Republican base in this state, I thought.
What do you think is next for Themis? And anybody can answer that.
Kurt's her friend. I'd like to hear what Kurt has to say.
And I don't know. I think, she's newly married. I think she's really enjoying the time with her husband. He has some grandkids. So I think she's just really enjoying for the first time, maybe in a long time for her, that she's kind of unplugged a little bit and can just sit back and relax and just be Themis. Not Themis the candidate, not Themis the state rep, not Themis the leader, but just Themis. And, when you talk to her, when you see her, while I think she's very disappointed in the race, but I think she just has a little different sense about her, that she just seems happy, content. But I certainly would not count Themis out of anything. I would hope that she would, throw her hat back in the ring again for something, but we'll see. And Jimmy and Stefan, before you jumped on, I said, as Republicans, to us, I guess there's glory in dying on the hill. Because we have to have that candidate that we agree with 100% of the time. And we don't care if we're going to win the election. But, it's all about the primary. And as long as we win the primary, then we're somehow successful. The fact that we threw away probably the best candidate we had for the United States Senate in a long time, no guarantees that she wins. But this thing is not called at 8:08.
Couldn't agree more.
Themis maybe gets us to 9:30 at the minimum, I would guess,
And what's good about Themis, in my opinion, really is that her options are really wide open. We just watched WTNH. We saw 3 former legislators, John McKinney, Tom Dutchick, and I'm gonna butcher Joe's Latin name, so I'm not even gonna attempt it. But I think she has a whole bunch of avenues available to her. She could do news commentary similar to what they did. I hope she doesn't choose to be a lobbyist, but she could be a lobbyist down the road. She could be a candidate. And truthfully, I see no reason why she couldn't pull a Mark Boughton in a second term here. Maybe a commissioner job opens up. I think her options are wide open. She didn't burn any bridges. She legislated with her heart, and I think she has a whole bunch of options available to her.
I think if I will, I think what you see with Leora Levy is kind of the same thing that in a way you see with the Democrats wanting Joe Biden last time around. It's the people in power find this person they want, they make it happen, and then you pay for it. So
just sharing what we know so far. I didn't mean to startle or interrupt anybody. If Themis, if she wants to freelance for the Valley Indy, I mean, that's an option too.
What are you paying, $100 an article now?
No. Well, we used to. Not this year.
You might not be able to afford her.
I'm just checking it. So I'm checking with the city of Derby. They still haven't issued the numbers on that road bond. I mean, the road bond, I thought that would be $815.
So ready here. I'm going to tell you. So from off the Irving School ticker, it was 605 yes, 435 no. And off the Bradley School machine, it was 993 yes, 798 no. And I don't really have the absentees off the ticker tape. So it was looking like about 1,900 to 1,400-ish.
And one thing
I know, and then Mary, I have it about 57-44 to 42-51.
And I'll just note here, and second ward alderman Ron Sill also said that it passed. And Ron Sill,
and that's better than me, by the way. Ron Sill's a legend. He's an icon.
I'm trying to see if he'll come on. I can call him. But he said victory for the alderman who passed it. He was saying I had misread, or we had a miscommunication in the last one.
He's a
tell him that. I'll also remind him that next August it's not going to be a picture of the 5 board aldermen on Rich Seekin's election mailer.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Ron. You're not sitting on the payloader next to Rich and the election mailer.
All right, let's check in with our good friends at WTNH again. They're talking about stuff.
Blumenthal won? That's surprising.
Blumenthal did win. All right, let me see if I can do. Wait, I did the wrong thing here. Oh, wait, I'm already sharing. What am I doing? Don't look at my files. Don't look at my files.
Kurt, what do you got in the 5th? Anything going on in them? What do we hear about that?
Nothing, but again, my lobbyist friend, I said anything on Logan, he said looks unlikely.
Yeah, It looks like the results that I've seen so far from like a town level, it looks like Johanna Hayes is getting a similar percentage that she was last time, which means not good things for George Logan.
To continue the work he has been doing for the last 12 years, 2 terms as senator, and what he plans to do in his 3rd term as well. He says that he wants to continue to support working families, and he also wants to always fight for a woman's right to choose. Now, he says that he is ready for this fight, this continued fight, but he says right now it could be a lot harder coming up.
I also think we need to bring the country together. We need to make sure that we put Connecticut first, put America first, reach across the aisle where possible, but when the fight comes, I will be there for you, and the fight will be coming. It will be more difficult now than before, but we need to stand together. And
what was that, Kurt? I'm sorry.
I'll be there to take a picture. Good God.
Senator will continue that fight. Again, he says that it could be harder, but he's up for it as well. We're live in Hartford. Tina Detel, News 8.
Thank you. We are expecting Laura Levy to address her
term is over. Was it like 84? Is that what's is he 78?
Oh, I don't know. Who here's some governor stuff going on?
I think you're right, Kurt.
A Republican, Bob Stefanowski, you see right there, 54 to 44%. That's with 20% of the vote counted so far tonight.
Oh, so that's going to be
Amaris is at Governor Ned
a
Lamont
long way
headquarters
before they decide that.
I guess Stefanowski having the independent line on the ticket wouldn't have mattered.
Oh, that's right. No. Well, one thing, Kurt, you had mentioned like how old Blumenthal is going to be. It does feel like, I mean, there's a certain point when an incumbent is an incumbent and they're an institution. Like at the beginning of the evening, Mr. McKinney there on WTNH, John McKinney said, quote, Rosa is an institution, unquote. So bringing it back to our local level, we had Cara Rochelle, state representative, win a 3rd term tonight, defeated Josh Shuart, the president of the Ansonia Board of Aldermen, an important player in Team Cassetti, which is a juggernaut there locally in the city of Ansonia. At what point do you reach it? When are you unbeatable? When are you an incumbent that you're just? I mean, I know eventually everybody loses, but is she now bulletproof?
I think,
not in a political term.
No, but I think at this point she's going to be very difficult to beat outside of her, doing some self-inflicting some type of wound on herself. I'm a firm believer in term limits because it gets to a point where there's really nothing you can do against these people because they have such such name recognition. They have a track record. They have a platform, and I think fresh ideas, fresh perspective on things is valuable. And
even in the 105th, Kurt.
No, Kurt's name will never be on the ballot again.
Term limits everywhere except for the 105th.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's entirely different. I hope Nicole's there for the next 47 years. But
there you go.
I just think it's a tough thing. I kid around about Senator Blumenthal's age, but I'm wondering if Stefan was even alive when he first got elected. So that's a tough thing. I think we need change. We need new voices. We need to hear, this country is changing dramatically. And I think, you look at Stefan's age group, I'm not sure Senator Blumenthal is the best person to represent that. And I think we need to have the ability for younger candidates to have a true opportunity, and they would never have that against, Senator Blumenthal, against Representative Delora. People like that are just so strong, so powerful, that I think they unfortunately kind of squash out the new, younger voices that I think would be very positive and beneficial, local politics and, of course, national politics as well.
Senator Blumenthal became Attorney General 3 months before I was born.
Wow.
Yeah, see that? I mean, that's crazy.
And Gina, I just want to jump off on one thing Kurt said, because in addition to term limits, I really think maybe even more than that, I think we really have to get a handle on campaign financing and campaign contributions. I mean, I have a case where Blumenthal probably had in excess of $20 million to run a senatorial campaign, and his opponent probably had a tenth of that. And we just don't make it easy for the average person to run, and we until we as a nation, I think, and I don't want to be wax philosophical, but until we make some real inroads into campaign financing, we're just going to continue to not have strong candidates.
Any problem, I think any problem we have in this country, you can tie back to campaign finance. I mean, any single one. The power of lobbies prevent any real progress on, we can't even acknowledge things like climate change without hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into campaigns. You can't have a debate on gun control without, giant PACs on either side dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into any race that they can get their hands on. It's any issue, you go up and down the line, and it's money that you normally don't know where it's coming from, shaping the opinions of the people in power and pumping money into campaigns, and incumbents are able to just print money. Essentially, they're able to find money from wherever they want, and they rack up these giant war chests, and then it's hard for anybody to make inroads. It's a terrible system.
But even in the governor's race in Connecticut, I mean, Bob Stefanowski came out and said, I'm going to put $10 million of my own money into the campaign, basically cleared the field for himself.
Yeah.
So what choice did we really have, simply because he has the ability to write a $10 million check?
Well, if you look at 2018, the two guys who were left standing were the ones with the most money.
Yeah.
That's not by accident.
No, so I mean, the last four Republican gubernatorial candidates were the same two guys that are multimillionaires that could just write endless checks.
Yep.
So it's just, in United States Center, we had Linda McMahon, who threw $100 million in two races. I mean, there needs to be the ability for the average person that has good ideas to be able to actually have a real opportunity in these elections. And to Stefan's point, campaign financing doesn't allow that.
We have a comment from Tom H. Videos. He says, term limits except in Shelton.
Loretti doesn't want to be. I mean, it's just that simple.
I think Mayor Loretti's first year as mayor, I was graduating high school, for God's sake.
It was like 90, 91, something like that.
85, I think.
I was going to say, I think I was still in high school too.
Oh, wow. So if there's anybody just joining us, I mean, the news of the night here, because I guess we'll wrap this up. We'll do another 4 minutes or something like that. Because I said 10:15, we would call it a night. I mean, we got the results that I thought we would get. Derby road bond, according to Jim Gilday, Ron Sill, and an unofficial confirmation from a source inside City Hall, all says that appears to have passed. $3 million to mill and pave roads in the city of Derby. We have Jim Gilday. Let me just source it, so when I get sued, I'll say it was Gilday. Mary Wiellander has won re-election. She represents part of Derby in the district that used to belong to Themis Claridis. On the State House level, very early tonight, I had to go live early. We had Rochelle victorious over Josh Shuart, according to unofficial results, and this will of course be all certified in the days coming. The Associated Press called Richard Blumenthal. I think at 7:30 they had said he had won. Not much of a race there, I guess. And then just checking, I know Ansonia. A shout out to the registrars of voters in Ansonia. Dave Papson sent me this link where you can look at the results as they come in. And although there's no names, I don't know how to read this. I'm sort of a moron.
Can we just say every registrar in the state should be required to do that?
Well, Stefan, if I can get on my high horse for a second there, I had put something on Twitter earlier tonight when we first launched the Valley Indy, and I was trying to get local races. It was like we were treated like, how dare we ask for the results from these races? I was amazed. City of Shelton, whoever was the registrar at the time, just was kind of openly hostile to reporters just there to try to get race results. We had in Ansonia, they told us, oh yeah, meet us here at the certain of time. We're right across the street. The former people left, turned the lights off, locked the doors. We couldn't get results. So I was amazed at how difficult it was. It seemed to me over the years, but it is changing, that the last thing on anybody's mind on election night in some of the city halls is getting the information to the public.
I mean, campaigns are calling the town chairs and people from 169 towns all night trying to find results. Like if you're Eric Russell or Harry Aurora right now, your people are calling, have to make 200 phone calls to try to figure out where you stand. It's absurd. And you're not calling the registrars of voters because usually they're home or they're not taking calls. It's
unreachable. Yeah.
It's a terrible system. We really need to get on the ball about that.
Yeah, and I will say I do sense that it. I mean, you have like David Papson doing what he's doing in Ansonia on the local level. I think it's changed a little bit. Mark Garofalo, the town clerk in Derby, sends out emails all day. It's pretty easy to. I don't know what's going on with the road bond stuff. I'm a little worried about Jim. I mean, have you heard anything like? I'm just surprised we didn't receive that email from Mark Garofalo with the results. I mean, there wasn't like a fire at a polling station or something like that, right? There's nothing like that going on, right?
I have the printout of the tape.
Okay, gotcha there. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. I mean, this was something, like I had said earlier, the Valley Indy is a local site. Traditionally in a newspaper, the state beat is something a state reporter does every single day. Every single day, you're just dealing with state representatives, state senators, and what's going on in Hartford. The Valley Indy, we're not set up to do that. It's not like, I mean, there's CT Mirror and there's CT News Junkie, and they do a good job. But it's very hard every 2 years to suddenly change the focus of the website and turn into what is this? I got election. Wait, I just got an email saying election 22 Derby turnout as of 2 p.m.
See that? They're on top of it.
Yeah. Maybe that's the one with the road bond numbers.
I don't know.
Eugene, those are the numbers that Jim's using. So maybe.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to sign off. But anyway, and this year I just thought like, yeah, no, I'm not. And I did get a little every year with these state races, it started to turn into that this year, where you have campaign A sends a letter to the editor and says that, somebody in campaign B is a jerk. And then somebody sends a letter and saying, I'm not a jerk, that guy's a dummy. And then you put that on social media on Valley Indy Facebook. And then somebody says, well, I don't like that jerk's dummy's mom. Then I delete that comment. And then all of a sudden the arrows are pointed at me. And I just said this year, I'm not doing it. So there were no letters. I cut that off. I didn't really run anything on these state races for that reason. Maybe I did apply for a grant for a Report for America reporter. I did try to see if there was ways we could provide a little more coverage, and it just didn't happen. So instead of doing a half-assed job, I thought I would just wait until tonight and cover it the way we did and just have a conversation about this. Because you can imagine, I mean, I'll share for anybody still watching, the amount of races this publication would have to cover if we were, and I'm not even talking about Shelton. When we first launched, we covered Shelton and Oxford. And it's just logistically impossible. Here's all the different races today. We've heard anything about any of these?
17
Cabrera, Hoyt.
I haven't heard much. The 32nd, Berthel will hold, and that's all I can speak to.
And that District 32, that's a rematch.
I think Cabrera will be fine in the 17th.
We do have.
But you give me cause for concern, though, Gene, when you talked about. So all bets are back on for next election, though, right? The municipal election, because I have a funny feeling Derby one's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely My point is that like the beat is the local level. We differentiate between like the CT Mirror doesn't come down and cover a local election, so it doesn't make sense for me to change the point of the Valley Indy and cover these state elections. I just can't do it. And also, if to do it right, the way we cover local elections is we hire freelancers $100 a pop, and if we were covering this. There would be one reporter at Cabrera, one reporter at Hoyt. So hire 11 to 12 people on election night. So when the great give comes around, please be generous so we can do that again.
Jim, do you have any announcements you want to make about 23? I mean, we're coming to the end of this.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a tell, right? I'm not a gambler, but isn't that a tell when he's asking that question?
You think I could beat the guy? I'm just sorry. I'm just teasing. It's too early. I gotta wait till 12:01.
It's too early. Wow. And Eugene, we've asked him the same question 3 different ways, and he's going to come out and say no. So I'm starting.
Well, hey, you know what though? I respect that more than the Miller way of being like, look, I got some really big news, but I got some really big news, but I'm gonna have to, to be on the next one a week from today. I'll be hot. It's like
the problem for me though, Gene, is if I run, then I guess I can only do my Bigelow tea job on the weekends. I'm gonna have to figure that all out somehow.
Hey, Jimmy, the pay cut's not that bad. You'll get used to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me just check one more time in our chat.
I'm hearing George Cabrera won.
All right, we're hearing George Cabrera run. You just heard that.
I did too, but it was unofficial. I agree. I think he's going to be fine. I agree with Stefan. I think he's going to be fine.
And somebody said term limits for Ansonia Municipal. So that's interesting.
Not those either. No term limits at Ansonia Municipal or the 105th.
All right, everybody. So it's now 10:19. I don't know how long I've been on, but I said we would end at 10:15. So I want to thank you guys. We accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. You guys are the experts. I'm just the moron. So thank you so much for doing this.
I had a fun time. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Always a pleasure.
Always a good time, Eugene.
All right, guys. I'm going to end this.
Less than 5,000 votes.
Oh, so that's one to keep. All right, I'm going to go get some beers and watch WTNH.
I think it's going to be close.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, bye, everybody. And thanks to everybody who watched and commented.